Mistrobin Hazarta. Tatir Mano Mansizon Hazan Sobar. Saman La Robza.
Welcome back to SledgeHammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and let's talk horror. Today, I am joined by the creator of Staunch TV, Alec Staunch. Alec, how you doing today, man?
Hey, what's up, everybody? Very happy to be here.
Dude, I am so excited to have you. This is such an honor. Something we've been trying to hook up here for a while. So for those of you that don't know, much like myself, Alec grew up in mom and pop video stores. My parents owned a video store growing up as well, so I definitely understand that.
Oh, awesome.
It gives you a bigger appreciation for movies. So with that, you created Staunch TV. And now what that is really a way for us to honor some of these things so they're never forgotten. For the people that don't know, what can you tell them about Staunch TV?
Well, I don't know. It's gone through quite about a few different stages at this point. I started out wanting to do like 120 minutes type of music show, and it's just copyright claim city, so it just never worked out. And then eventually I was like, I just want to talk about movies, it's what I do. And down here where I'm at, nobody, like I can't talk to anybody, you know what I'm saying, about this stuff. Nobody gets it. And so I figured the internet,
Yep.
And then I started reaching out to people, different actors, different directors that I was into, and uncovered some pretty cool stuff, man, like about some obscure movies. It's pretty weird. And I wound up getting making a full feature-length documentary about the movie Rock and Roll High School Forever. So that was cool. That's like another, like no one else had ever done that. So that was pretty cool, man. And it's just like a weird, wacky ride. Finally broke 2,000 subs, so that's like a big deal for me. After like that first 1,000 came hard, the second one came easy. So hopefully it keeps coming easy. I don't know,
Right.
But I don't know. It's the channel's kind of in a weird little space right now. I'm getting more into the movie reviews and stuff. I kind of focus on weird bands and weird music too, and for whatever reason, people love those, and I kind of took a turn towards that. But weird movies, man, and old movies, that's what I love. That's my bottom line right there. And horror, growing up, I think we all developed a pretty big love for horror. It's nothing I'm not too psyched about now. Nowadays, horror doesn't really excite me like it used to, sadly. But I mean, we never forget our first horror movie. You know what I mean?
Right. And that's actually the reason why we are here.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, everybody, I want you to make sure you are clicking the links down here in the description. Make sure you're giving him a follow on social media, as well as you're subscribing to his YouTube. All that information is right down here. You are definitely going to like what you see over there. So, but we are here today, my friend, to talk about the first horror movie you watched. And if you guys can't tell yet, your first horror movie was?
Well, the first notable one, definitely Evil Dead. The one that kept me up at night. Evil Dead.
Yes.
The original, if I have to specify. I don't think I have to. But
Book of the Dead, man. It's funny because I'm a big behind the scenes guy, and I'm actually getting ready to film my first short film that I've ever made.
Oh, wow.
And in preparation for that, Evil Dead is one that I've watched because mine is a psychological thriller horror, and it takes place all in a house. And watching some of the behind the scenes of the Evil Dead and some of the commentary with Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi, you learn a lot of cool things. Like the original title of the Evil Dead was Book of the Dead, and one of their agents was like, "Yo, you don't want to name it that because people are going to think they have to spend 90 minutes reading a fucking book. So change it to the Evil Dead." And Sam and Bruce were like, "That's the worst title we've ever heard, and it's one of the best, titles in horror history." And learning all these things, the special ways they shot certain scenes, is really helping me. And to know this is, and for those of you that have keeping track, this is above episode 150. This is the first time we're talking about the Evil Dead. So
nice.
I'm very excited about this. Do you remember how old you were the first time you watched it?
Oh man, I was a little kid. I can remember it was me. My brother was the one responsible. At that point, I believe Army of Darkness had just came out, so that would be what, 94 or something like that, or maybe it was just in theaters, 93, somewhere around there. And back in those days, Sci-Fi Channel was a lot different. They would show horror movies like all night, and like good ones, And so my brother, put the pieces together. Hey, this is part one to, you know, Army of Darkness or whatever. And so he had told me about it, and I was like, I want to see this, you know. So we woke up late at night without our parents knowing, did the whole sneak to the, and God, you know, it scared the shit out of me. I was definitely screaming later that night, and my mom found out we were up watching movies. But and it was censored too. That's the thing. I mean, it was the early '90s or whatever, but it was still a censored version of the movie, and it got me. And yeah, that was the first one where I remember having the intense nightmares. Oh man, there's so many different points in that movie that till this day kind of give me the chills, you know. So
and that's what I love about this movie.
Yeah.
I just did a franchise ranking of the Evil Dead. This came in third, actually, but that's not because I dislike this film. It's just because that's how much better I thought two of the other films were on top of this. If you guys want to see that, go to my channel. You can see my Evil Dead franchise ranking. But this is a movie that from start to finish is perfect to me. It's such a fun movie. I have so much fun, and I enjoy this movie very, very much. It's a blast all the time. But in a movie full of iconic and crazy fucking scenes, what scene affected you the most?
Well, let's see. The one that caused the nightmares was definitely pounding from the attic. That whole scene, you know, with the freaking out, and then the what's wrong with their eyes, and the viewpoint, and you know, that whole thing. It all just stuck in my brain so badly. I just till this day I still kind of freak out, you know, thinking about it. But it was definitely that scene, man. That scene plus just that lone scene with I forget her name, where she's sitting there listening to the recording, and it just comes in over, and it's just quiet, and all you hear is like that whole thing. Is really sets the mood, and it just freaked me out. And it's weird. Years later, you know, I realize a lot of the movies that I like horror wise are all very claustrophobic, like nearly all of them. You know, I guess that's what scares me is, you know, like your descents, and you know, I think Gravity, that space movie with Sandra Bullock, was like one of the scariest movies I saw that year. It's just the closed in, the like Buried, and those type of movies. I think it all goes back to this, where this really is a very tight, closed in movie. They're stuck out in this house, if you will, cabin in the middle of nowhere. You know, where you should be a grand open field, and you're not. You're stuck in this little pocket of hell, and it's so good. Nothing's working out, you know. And then when the sun comes up, you think everything's okay, you know. I love that movie.
It's funny because like you're talking about that cellar scene. I love right before that when he hits her and then just fucking kicks her and she falls into the cellar, you know. And it's one of those things. Anytime she's pushing up on that cellar door is just freaky as hell. Cheryl, like, she's just such a scary individual in general. But when you think of the Evil Dead, what is the first thing that pops into your head?
Oh, go to hell! I wasn't honking at you. From the very beginning.
And it's funny because that was Sam Raimi and one of the producers that were there.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those dudes. That's the first thing that comes to my mind every time.
That is fucking awesome, man. So we talked about which scene affected you the most, and this is a movie that is full, and I mean full to the brim of iconic scenes. But what is your favorite scene from the Evil Dead?
Oh wow! I guess if I had to pick one, let's see. I don't know. You got to hand it to as much as a straight horror movie as it is, that last big effects finale, man. That still holds up. Like nothing done in that style back then looks as good as this does. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what they did. They nailed that shit. You know, can I cuss on this? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so yeah, they nailed that shit. And you know, the oatmeal coming out the sleeve and everything. Like it's just it's such a cool way to end that movie. Because I mean, what are you gonna do if there was? Think about it. If those effects weren't there, it would have been just like maybe another splatter fest. You know, like how the sequels eventually went. Because that's something you didn't really see again in that franchise. That whole claymation,
claymation. And even right after that, like I think that a scene that doesn't get talked about enough that should is right after that when you have the camera that comes from the woods and it comes and it busts open the cabin door and then it busts open the front door right into Ash's face. You know, like just the way that there's rumors that he did that on a bike. I watched the commentary on it. He did not. Sam Raimi ran with a camera, and they just like made this rumor that he did it on a motorcycle. But he actually ran. And he had locals because a lot of the production crew had left, and he would yell cues, and they would pull the doors open so he could run and go right through the. Yeah, and I thought that was so amazing how they did that with just you know, so practically. Just a guy running with a camera, yelling cues for them to open the doors. You know, that's fucking genius, man.
And then right after that, it's so awesome.
The happiest outro music you could possibly have for the end.
Man, that was another great scene is when they're in the basement and you know the projectors going off, the pipes, and you see
blood filling up, you know, coming out of the sockets and
filling up precursor to kind of a precursor to Evil Dead 2, you know, with all the wackiness and I love it, man. One more thing about the cellar scene, is I think one thing that I always wish, I wonder if Sam feels the same. It keeps cutting back to boom, her banging it whenever she's out there digging the hole, and then it shows it bust open. Like if they just cut that out, if he walks in after everything and then sees that it was busted open, like that would have been so much cooler. But you know,
and it's funny because there wasn't even a cellar in that cabin. All the cellar shots were filmed in Michigan, and they actually, when actors weren't acting on set, they were digging a hole in the floor. They dug a 4-foot hole, so when that opened, there was just a little 4-foot hole down in there. So that's another thing I thought was just so awesome. Like I watched this movie, and there's such a deep appreciation for all the practical things they did in this movie.
Yes, for sure, and how they managed to match it all up too. It's crazy.
It's great, man. So good.
That's insane. I often wonder. I've heard a lot of people say that they don't like this movie and that they prefer the remake. I'm just like, what? Like, what is happening?
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm one of them, but it's not that I don't like this movie. That's not what I'm saying. But I do put the remake above this one, and I just think that the reason why is the remake is a lot bloodier. It's a lot gorier, and I like the idea in the remake of taking someone out to this cabin to wean them off heroin. It's not just, obviously Evil Dead started the let's go party in the woods, but that's become almost cliche now. So for them to be going to this cabin for a reason, we're going to get you off the shit. We're going to make sure you're okay. And I love Lou Taylor Pucci, and I think he did an amazing job in that movie. I'm a very big fan of the Evil Dead remake, but to me, it's like Evil Dead and the Evil Dead remake are right neck and neck with each other. You know, I'll never be upset if the Evil Dead's on. I fucking love the Evil Dead. It's still to this day in one of my favorite horror movies. But this franchise is just so great that it's hard for me. It could change tomorrow. Tomorrow, the Evil Dead could be my favorite. You know, it's a revolving door for me. The last one will always be the last one for me. Army of Darkness is my least favorite. It's the one I've quoted the most throughout my life. It's the one I still quote the most to this day. But to me, it's more of a sci-fi adventure than it is a horror. You know, it's more sci-fi adventure comedy to me. So that's why I rank it a little lower. So in a movie where you got a bunch of deadite possessions and kills, which is your favorite kill or deadite possession in the Evil Dead?
Oh man, that would you know, I hate to be the cliche guy here, but I gotta say the you know, the Jack of Spades, the whatever when she starts naming the cards. There's just those little things like that you know, not to bring up the remake again, I think it's all of these things that make this movie scary was just completely lacking in that remake. It wasn't scary to me anymore. You know what I'm saying? There was little things like the card readings and just the voice over from the audio and when you know the trees, Ash, and all that, and then with the score, it's such a good score in that movie. I know I'm kind of ranting on about it, but I'd have to say that's probably the one, man. When she starts reading the cards. I love that scene. 8 of Spades, Jack of Clubs,
and then she starts floating. So dope, dude. I'm with you. That's such a good scene, man. See, and another scene that I bring up a lot that I don't think people talk about enough. This is another one of those scenes right after that moment. You know, she falls down, and you're like, okay, maybe I get a breather now. but she grabs that fucking pencil and stabs Linda in the leg.
Yeah.
You know, like, and that's just so gnarly, man. Like, that's another one of those scenes that as a kid, you're just like, oh, like to me, I liken that to Gage cutting the guy's leg in Pet Cemetery when he gets his Achilles under the bed. Like, that's what these two.
It's almost worse because like that's at least Gage got a clean cut, you know.
And you watch her move the pencil around inside of her leg.
Yes,
we know how horror started for you, my friend. We know that it started with The Evil Dead, and we know how great of a movie that is. But now, my friend, I want to veer away from The Evil Dead for a second, and I want to go scream on you here for a second, Alec. What's your favorite scary movie? What is your favorite horror movie of all time?
Of all time? Wow. That's a tough one. If we're going, like, obviously, you know, Evil Dead, but if we're talking straight horror, man, like the movie that still kind of gets me today, I'd have to probably go Demons 2 right now.
Ooh.
Yeah. Because, you know, that one also has it all. And there's funny parts in it. In a lot of ways, the movie that they're watching is scarier than the movie. Than
the actual movie?
Yeah. And it's like, and then when they start changing, oh my God, the scenes with the elevator. And I did a video, top 5 scenes that scarred me for life on my channel. So you can see all my top, 5 picks there. But that one, Demons 2, I've always had a big affinity for that one. And that one ages better and better. I don't know. There's obviously a lot more that I could go through, but I would recommend Demons 2 to everybody.
I'm in there. I'm right with you. I love Demons 2. And the concept of it, like you said, while they're in there watching the movie and how scary that movie is while we're having this, love it. I love Demons 2. I'm a big fan of Demons 2.
For sure.
So now I got 2 more questions for you. Since we are talking about The Evil Dead and we're talking about it as a franchise as well, what is your favorite film in the Evil Dead franchise?
Well, I'd have to go with part 1. I know, it's a close tie with part 2 because I love part 2 as well. But in my opinion, Evil Dead, the original one, is still the only horror movie in that entire franchise. Straight up, and it's such a scary movie. It's such a cerebral movie. It feels so real in parts. You know what I mean? Where everything else, all the other ones, they feel like more like a movie, to say the least. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They take on more zany route, obviously. I don't know, dude. They're all very close. They're all right there.
This was the hardest franchise for me to rank. Of all the franchises I've ranked, this was the hardest because any given day, the Evil Dead 2, or Evil Dead could be my favorite because they are all that great. I think it will always be for me Evil Dead 2. I think that will always be my favorite because that's more my personality. You still have that sprinkle of horror with the comedy. There are parts that literally make me laugh out loud, and there's parts that gross me out. Like I love Evil Dead 2. I think it's up there in the horror world. I think it's the best sequel of all time. I put it up there with The Empire Strikes Back and Terminator 2 as my favorite sequel of all time. That's how much I truly enjoy Evil Dead 2.
I definitely put that up there too. Yeah.
Have you seen Evil Dead the musical?
I saw a local performance or whatever that they did here in town, and it was pretty cool. I guess not being much for musicals, it made it kind of mad for me, but it's not like I was bored or anything.
Right.
It's not like I'm against musicals either. It's just I know early on. Yeah, I know early on watching a musical if I'm going to like it or not. But I guess I'm a cynical asshole. I don't know. It's strange.
No, I get it, man. See, I was a huge fan. We were in the splatter section, so we got all the blood and guts and shit on us. So it was fucking awesome.
Yeah. I aside from that, I played like the first video game. I love that one. The first 2 video games when they came out, they're just super hard. But I remember playing them for hours. It was cool.
Fistful of Boomstick and
whatever the sequel was.
Yeah, with the little guy in it that Ted Raimi did the voice of.
Yeah, then I think they were in like a neighborhood or something like that.
And you could kick the guy and he would land on the Deadites' heads and pull them off. Yeah, I love that shit, man.
A cool game.
I can't remember. It's gonna come to me and I'm gonna be so mad. It's Fistful of Boomstick and something else. So we always end these, my friends, with the same question. We are going to a skull count. We're going back to Evil Dead, and we're ranking it 0 to 5 skulls. 0 being the worst and 5 being the best. We're not being critics. We're not ranking this movie on production, acting, quality, nothing like that. This is strictly just what this movie means to you and how this movie affected you. So 0 to 5 skulls. You can use half and quarter skulls. What would your ranking of The Evil Dead be?
Well, I mean, to me, like I said, it still ages better and better, just like Demons 2 does. So I got to give it a 5, man, straight up.
Absolutely.
All the way. And it's still, like I said, it's still the one thing that whenever I want my Evil Dead fix, I can go back to part 1, and it still feels fresh. It still feels new somehow. Like I couldn't even really get into Ash versus Evil Dead. I really tried. I just thought it kind of tried maybe a little too hard, but I don't know. But to me,
the only downfall I saw with Ash vs. Evil Dead was the Ash even more over the top than he was in Army of Darkness. And it's funny, like you're saying, when you watch the first Evil Dead, throughout the first, 2 acts of the movie, Ash is a little bitch,
Yeah.
And
Sure.
then you go from that to him and Ash versus the Evil Dead. It's funny to watch his transformation to that. In my opinion, it's funny to watch him do that transformation.
I think that's the one thing that hindered that show was that it needed more Ash and less everybody else, But I'm glad it happened. It was cool to see that for sure. And I don't know what the talk is now, but I'm my fingers are crossed for another original franchise entry there.
Well, they're bringing Evil Dead Rise. It's going to take place inside of a skyscraper, actually, which I think is fucking brilliant. I'm so ready for them to not be in a cabin anymore.
Yeah.
I would love to see Deadites unleashed in a fucking city, dude. I think that would be so dope.
Yeah. The Skyrise situation and whatnot, that could be cool. I do remember hearing about that. It's just you hear so much about this franchise that never happens, so it's like fingers are crossed, like I said. We'll see.
Man, I again want to thank you so much for coming on. Don't go anywhere. I got a couple more questions for you. Cool. Everybody else, make sure, like I said, you're following the links down here in the description. Show him some love. Make sure you're subscribing to the YouTube channel. As always, guys, stay what you are. Keep talking horror, and we'll see you guys soon.